Alright, listen, I know we got a new DLC on our hands and everything, but 70,000 views in only 2 days? You guys are absolutely insane, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for the support on my last video. I really appreciate it. Now, last video, we covered the new destination weapons that came with Lightfall, talked about how to get them, their best perks, yada yada, and today we're doing the same except for Season of Defiance. Defiance came bundled with Lightfall, so if you have Lightfall, then you have this season, and today we'll be talking about the weapons that came alongside this piece of content, discussing how to farm them, whether or not they're worth farming, and talking about what their best perks are for PvE. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, maybe like the video if you're feeling a bit frisky, and let's jump into this. So first things first, how do you go about farming the new Season of Defiance weapons? Well, with this new expansion, Bungie has gone in a different direction when it comes to getting seasonal loot, and they've done this in the form of seasonal engrams, which are called Defiant engrams, as well as a new system with Defiant keys. Basically, just doing about any activity in the game will have a chance to reward you with either of these two things. The Defiant engrams will simply build up in bulk back at the war table in the helm for you to just claim whenever, and the Defiant keys will stack up to 5 in your inventory, and then you can go into the Season of Defiance Battleground playlist and spend these for bonus loot. Now keep in mind the keyword there, bonus, because you can actually just play the Battleground playlist without the keys, and opening the end chest will guarantee you a piece of Defiant gear. But if you do have a key whenever you open the chest, you'll have an increased chance for a red border weapon or high stat armor piece, plus a guaranteed Defiance engram. So it's a really cool system that Bungie made. Now if you're wanting to stock up on as many keys and engrams as fast as possible, you have two really good methods. The first of which involves getting the final boss checkpoint for the Shattered Throne dungeon and just farming the boss over and over again with some buddies, but that method will require you to buy another DLC. So for those that want a free method to go about things, I personally was farming the first encounter boss in Prophecy, and it was nearly just as easy. It doesn't really have much health, and it doesn't take long to get to damage phase either. You can just endlessly farm these encounters until you get your keys to stack up to 5, and then you can go spend them, or you can just stay farming for the sake of stacking up engrams at the helm. And of course, just like all seasons, in the very near future, we'll also have a means to focus loot specifically at the seasonal vendor, making the red border and God roll grind much easier. Now, as usual, since you guys know how to get your hands on and how to farm these weapons, let's finally go over them one by one, starting with the PERPETUALIS. This weapon is a 600 RPM strand auto rifle and is the only known legendary strand auto in the game right now, although the raid coming out soon may change this. Regardless, it's a very solid pick and is the first weapon I'll be maxing out once I get it crafted because it's pretty damn good. The base stats are nice, the gun feels great, and the perks aren't too shabby either. Speaking of which, taking a look at them, here in the first column we have the Keep Away perk for reload speed when not near enemies, as well as Envious Assassin for overflowing the mag when killing enemies with other weapons. Going to the second perk column, we can pair these perks with Demolitionist for grenade energy on kills, Golden Tricorn for a massive boost to our bullet damage after ability kills, Target Lock for an increase in damage the longer we shoot at an enemy, and finally Hatchlings so that we can spawn Threadlings on headshot kills. I'll also go over the origin trait too, since this will also be in the other Defiant weapons, and this is called Noble Deeds. This is going to allow you to build stacks by assisting enemies in various ways, and those stacks will help with reload speed and handling for as long as they're around, and it's not too bad of a bonus either. Anyways, once I get around to crafting this thing, I'm 100% going for Envious Assassin in the first column, with either Target Lock or Hatchling in the second. Target Lock's going to be great because obviously the magazine is overflowed, so keeping that perk up is going to be easy, and Hatchling is great because as long as I'm building into a strand build, it's going to be super effective. I feel that I'll probably go the Hatchling route, however, since there aren't as many strand weapons currently in the game, and I'd really like to take advantage of these weapons and their unique perk combos. But yeah, PERPETUALIS is super good and one of my main recommendations for the whole season. If you're an auto rifle enjoyer, definitely grind this one out. RACONTEUR. Dude, what is with Lightfall and introducing a shit ton of weapons that I do not know how to pronounce? Anyways, apologies if I'm butchering this one. RACONTEUR, I really hope I'm saying that right, is a precision frame stasis bow with a fairly unique perk combo. Now, with it being a precision frame, you'll definitely want to spec into draw speed as much as possible once you get it crafted to get it feeling better. And currently, this bow stands as the best stasis combat bow in the game right now for legendaries. Mainly because there's literally only one other one, and this Season of Defiance bow just has outright better perks, plus it is craftable. Anyways, taking a look at the perk pool, here in the first column we have your usual pick of Archer's Tempo, but also something I don't believe I've seen on a bow before, we have Wellspring here in the first column. In the second column, we also have Successful Warm-Up to pair with Tempo, we have Explosive Head, which is guaranteed damage and might not be too bad of a pairing with Shoot to Loot, and finally we have Headstone, which is always nice to have on stasis weapons. Raconteur definitely has quite a bit of variety, it's craftable, and I wouldn't necessarily say that it'd be a waste if you crafted it. I already have the pattern for mine, funny enough, and I'll probably get around to leveling it sometime soon. Prodigal Return. This special GL is definitely that, special. It comes with a perk we haven't seen yet on a grenade launcher, but does this thing warrant actually using? Well, let's find out. First, this weapon is an arc lightweight frame grenade launcher, making it the only one in the game aside from one other option, but we'll get to that in a bit. Taking a look at the perks, we have some great options across the board. In the first column, we have Field Prep for ammo and reload, Lead from Gold for ammo from heavy, as well as Envious Assassin, which I've heard can let you load upwards of 3 in the magazine at a time, which is just nuts. And taking a look at the second column, we have Danger Zone, Demolitionist, as well as Volt Shot. Now, you guys already know what I'm about to do, but I just have to bring both 𝗕𝗏𝗔𝗡𝗍𝗶 and Forbearance into the conversation. Is the Prodigal Return worth grinding in a world where both of these weapons exist? Well, that's going to be left up to you. If I were crafting and going for the god roll here, the roll that I would make this weapon is probably something like Field Prep plus Volt Shot. This will allow me to get a lot of reloads in, give me a lot of reserves, and allow me to volt targets fairly consistently. I could even go another step further and slap on disorienting grenades to allow it to both blind enemies around me and shock those at the same time, making it pretty unique. And of course, we also can backtrack and we can get the, Envious Assassin perk and be able to have 3 in the magazine, which is really cool. The thing is though, is that if you're gonna be a meta slave, I just don't know how much better or better at all this will be compared to Salvo or Forbearance. Regardless, it's gonna make for a really fun use, especially if you don't want to be a slave to the meta, so screw it. I would say it's worth crafting as long as you're not low on materials and you already got some other good options in your arsenal. Royal Executioner is an adaptive frame fusion rifle and is solar element. If you're a fan of fusions in like either Incandescent or Reservoir Burst, then you'll absolutely love this one. Taking a look at the perks here, the first column is going to have Lead from Gold, and the more appealing option under it, Envious Assassin, with the second column featuring, as mentioned earlier, Reservoir and Incan. Now, me personally, y'all know my stance on fusions and the like. If it isn't one that's rolling with 𝗕𝗏𝗄, then I'm not really going to care for it. You also have these other occasions where you can get a good archetype that rolls Vorpal weapon like Cartesian, but outside of that, I don't really care too much for fusion rifles in PvE. That said, if I had to use a fusion that is neither 𝗕𝗏𝗄 nor rapid fire Vorpal weapon, this one would probably be the next in line. Envious is the perfect perk to pair with Reservoir, as you need to be at the top or past the top of your magazine to proc it for ad clear, and of course Incandescent, especially enhanced since this weapon can be crafted, is always a welcome addition. But TLDR, this is a weapon that I would pass on in terms of god roll grinding or crafting, unless you're wanting to pick it up purely because of its unique traits and nothing else. Regnant. I'm not going to take too long here because this weapon is pretty much a craftable version of the weapon everybody was talking about pre-Lightfall, and that is the Wendigo. If you farmed Nightfalls last season and weren't lucky, or maybe just took your chances and didn't bother, and still want a top-of-the-line heavy grenade launcher, this is the one that you want. It's an adaptive void that rolls auto-loading explosive light, and is a weapon that's bugged right now, and you can endlessly grab it from collections until you get the perfect roll. Grenade launchers aren't quite meta right now despite the buff, and this is going to be a similar situation like with Wendigo. I would craft this one, I would get it, I would craft it, I would level it up, all that kind of stuff, and make sure that I have it just in case we see grenade launchers rise back through the ranks and get back on top for things like DPS. Caretaker. Our final weapon for today's video is, as you probably can tell, one that you'd craft purely to just mess around and have fun with. This is a solar adaptive sword, and funnily enough is one that can roll with Incandescent. If you're wanting something that will surely rain hellfire upon your enemies with every single slash, craft this bad boy, enhance your perks, and go to town. I'd personally recommend a roll of Tireless Blade so you can get ammo back on every other kill, and of course Incandescent for the nutty ad clear all around. This weapon also rolls the new perk called Valiant Charge, which is basically just Eager Edge with extra steps, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for me today. Those are all 6 of your new legendary Season of Defiance weapons, with all their best perks, and of course a farming guide back towards the beginning of the video. Let me know down in the comments below what your favorite of the bunch was, as me personally, I really am super excited to get my hands on the crafted version of the auto. While not all of these weapons are going to be super meta defining, literally every single one of them does something unique or special, and I'd say that's a W in my book. We've had some super boring seasonal weapon sets in the past, and I'm just glad that this isn't one of them. Anyways guys, as always, thank you all so much for supporting the content and watching up until this point. I'm super excited to get some more Lightfall content out for you all very soon, and I can't wait to see what position we're in right here on the channel by the end of the expansion. Now, before we end things off, of course, I gotta give thanks to my Patreon and YouTube members, as they help me do what I do each and every day. For Patreon, we have Admus, Vile, John, Serenity, and Boomer in Tier 2, with Austin, Cinco, and Gloomy in Tier 3. And for the YouTube members, we got Rocky, Ghost, Hornbeat, Madgo, Salty, Potato, Dawson, Brandon, Ram, Peak, Serenity, Hank the Tank, Nimble Fox, Mamimi, Bluesman, Clear, Angel, Ben McClellan, and Mayhem Gaming. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.